My wife, Chloe, promised me a huge surprise for our honeymoon. To get the extra vacation days, I'd pulled a week of all-nighters, pushing to finish my project ahead of schedule. I rushed to the airport, my heart pounding with anticipation, only to find her standing intimately close with her childhood best friend, Leo. "Honey, Leo's coming with us on our honeymoon. Isn't that a great surprise?" she said, her smile unwavering. "It'll be more fun with 3 people. More exciting." Seeing the color drain from my face, she tightened her grip on Leo's arm. "You're such a buzzkill. Your mind is always in the gutter. I even booked a suite with 2 separate bedrooms, so you can relax." The old me would have exploded, demanding to know who exactly was her husband. But now I just tossed my ticket onto a nearby bench and laughed, a short, sharp sound devoid of any humor. "Don't bother. You two just get the king-size bed." Chloe stared at me for a few seconds, stunned. For the first time in our relationship, she didn't lash out at my coldness. Instead, she picked up my ticket, hurried after me, and pushed it back into my hand. "Leo's sleepwalking has been acting up again. I can't leave him to sleep alone. I'd be too worried." Her voice took on a martyred tone. "I have to take care of a sick friend and go on a honeymoon with you. I'm already so exhausted. Can't you have a little compassion?" I rubbed my temples, a wave of fatigue washing over me. Leo was the boyfriend next door. His parents had divorced when he was young, leaving him mostly to fend for himself, and he'd latched onto Chloe, calling her his big sister. Over time, she started to genuinely see him as a little brother. Under the guise of taking care of him, she had let Leo insert himself into every corner of our lives. Dinners, movies, and now even our honeymoon. If they were so inseparable, why did she even marry me? "I'm not going. You can focus on taking care of Leo. Isn't that compassionate enough?" Not just this time. I was done. If she couldn't make up her mind, constantly wavering between 2 men, then I'd make the choice for her. But Chloe didn't see it as a favor. "I wasn't even going to go, but Leo convinced me not to disappoint you. He's sick, but he's still insisting on coming along for our sake. And you're being this selfish. Why can't you be thoughtful like him and give me a break?" Beside her, Leo lowered his head slightly, but I could see the triumphant glint in his eyes. His so-called thoughtfulness was nothing but a performance, a way to constantly flaunt Chloe's preference for him right in my face. I was too tired to argue. I turned and walked away. Chloe followed me, her voice rising as we moved from the terminal to the curb, not stopping until I flagged down an Uber. Only then did it seem to dawn on her that I was serious about skipping the trip. "Okay, I was wrong," she said, her tone softening. "Next time, I'll talk to you about it first. But we'll miss the flight if we don't get through security now." When I remained silent, her expression soured again. After all, she was used to my unconditional tolerance. For her, the words "I was wrong" were the biggest concession she could possibly make. The script said I should now dutifully pick up her luggage and follow her to the gate, not stand here like a statue. But this time I was just done. Utterly and completely done. At first, I thought her dedication to this pseudo-brother was a sign of her kindness. But then Leo crossed line after line, and she never once cared about how it made me feel. "Chloe," I said, my voice flat, "let's get a divorce." Chloe's hand, which had been reaching for mine, froze in midair. It slowly clenched into a fist, her eyes wide with shock. Leo stepped forward, casually wrapping his arm around her shoulders and gently wiping a tear from the corner of her eye. "Don't cry, Chloe. It's all my fault for making Jake mad. I can check myself into a hospital. It's no big deal. Don't let it ruin your honeymoon. I can just order Grubhub and hire a nurse. I've been on my own my whole life, anyway." Chloe bit her lip, her anger flaring. "It's not your fault. You don't have to apologize to a cold-hearted bastard like him. Jake Miller, if you think you can use a divorce to push Leo out, you've got another thing coming." She shoved me hard. "If you're not going, then get lost. I can't stand the sight of you." I stumbled backward, nearly falling into the middle of the road. The shriek of tires filled the air. A car bumper pressed against my knee as the driver leaned out the window, his face red with rage. "What the hell is wrong with you? You got a death wish, trying to throw yourself in front of my car? Get out of the road." The commotion quickly drew a crowd. Chloe started to move toward me, but Leo held her back. "Chloe, we have to catch our flight." She shot me a glare, her brow furrowed. "You just had to ruin a perfectly good trip. This is so embarrassing. You could just stay home and think about what you've done." In front of everyone, it felt like I'd been slapped across the face. A hot, stinging shame crept up my neck. Leo glanced back over his shoulder, a smug, challenging smile on his face. He mouthed 2 silent words at me. "Loser." This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Ever since Chloe and I started dating, Leo always had a way of pulling her away from me. Once, I had to have surgery under general anesthesia and needed a family member present. But Leo whispered a few words to her, convinced her I was faking it, and she told me to just call her after I was dead so she could collect the body. As I lay on the operating table signing my own consent forms, Leo was posting pictures on Instagram, showing off how Chloe was celebrating his birthday with him. Afterward, Chloe just told me not to be so petty with a kid and complained that I should have sent her a picture from the hospital to prove it. How ridiculous. Her husband tells her he's having surgery, and her first reaction isn't concern, but suspicion that I'm trying to win some kind of jealousy game. A sharp pain shot through my knee. I rolled up my pant leg to see a large patch of skin scraped raw, blood already seeping through. A tall woman in a flight attendant's uniform stopped and offered me a pack of tissues. "Are you okay? Captain? Jake, is that you? What happened to you?" The woman's striking face seemed familiar, and after a moment, I placed her. Sophia. She was a year behind me at aviation school, the one everyone called the campus queen. We'd worked together a few times during my 3 years as a pilot. Sophia insisted on taking me to the Emirates Business Lounge. She knelt, carefully cleaning my wound. "Hang in there, Captain. The antiseptic is going to sting a little." As we talked, Sophia shook her head, lamenting my situation. When I first joined Emirates, I was made a lead pilot on the A380 within my first year. During one flight, we had a major incident, and I managed to save all 178 passengers through a combination of skill and sheer nerve. That maneuver is still used as a case study in training new captains. But Chloe hated my job. The long stretches apart, the unpredictable schedule, she couldn't adapt. To save our crumbling relationship, I had painfully given up the career I loved and took a desk job at an aircraft manufacturing company. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Sensing my dark mood, Sophia spoke softly, trying to comfort me. "Captain, the airline is adding new routes from the U.S. to Dubai. If you're interested, I can put in a word for you. The old man would be thrilled to have you back." She continued, "The pay is incredible now, way more than the $1 million-a-year package you had before. And they're giving every captain a 2-story villa." When she heard what Chloe had done, Sophia was furious on my behalf. "She's your wife, and she's going on a honeymoon with another man? I'm going to make sure she regrets this so hard." She pulled me into a few selfies, typed out some witty captions, and posted them to her Instagram. I was already past caring about Chloe, and I was too tired for these childish games. But Sophia was so enthusiastic, and she'd already offered to help me get my job back. I didn't have the heart to shut her down, so I just let her do her thing. Besides, Chloe was probably off on some tropical island, wrapped up in Leo's drama. She wouldn't have time to be scrolling through my social media feed, let alone feel any regret. But I was wrong. The post went up in the morning. Chloe came back at 2 a.m. Maybe she'd left in such a hurry, she forgot her keys. She started pounding on the door, a frantic, desperate rhythm that woke up the neighbors, who began shouting curses into the night. I stumbled to the door, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. The moment I opened it, she threw her suitcase down and grabbed me by the collar. "Jake Miller, so this is why you wouldn't go on our honeymoon. You were busy shacking up with some other woman behind my back." Her voice was shrill. "I was actually feeling guilty for leaving you at the airport, and it turns out you're the one who was cheating. If you don't tell me who that woman is right now, I swear, this is not over." I caught her hand as she swung it toward my face, my voice cold and dismissive. "She's a distant cousin. You're overthinking it. I just wanted to de-escalate, but my words were like gasoline on a fire." "A cousin? Who do you think you're fooling? You post a picture with another woman on social media. Did you even stop to think how our friends and family would laugh at me? Do you have any respect for me as your wife at all?" So, the needle only hurts when it's pricking your own skin. All those times I'd accused her of being inappropriately close with Leo, she'd just brush me off impatiently. I see him as a brother. Believe it or not. You can't teach a person a lesson with words, but life always finds a way. I pulled out a chair and sat down, my voice flat. "And when you went on a honeymoon with Leo, did you consider me your husband?" At this, a look of dawning comprehension crossed Chloe's face, the anger in her eyes slowly receding. She smiled, picked up my phone, deleted the Instagram post, and then leaned in to kiss me. "I knew it. You just grabbed some random woman to try and make me jealous." Her voice was light, teasing. "All right, stop being pouty. If you pull a stunt like this again, I won't forgive you. And to put your mind at ease, Leo and I got 2 separate rooms. Happy now?" She paused. "Oh, and I have another surprise for you." A chill went down my spine. The last time she'd said surprise, she'd brought Leo on our honeymoon. "What now?" She rummaged mysteriously in her suitcase and pulled out a pregnancy test. "Jake Miller, you're going to be a father." I stared at the 2 blue lines on the test. The initial joy of impending fatherhood was quickly swamped by a wave of doubt. Was this baby even mine? Chloe, thinking I was just stunned into silence, began chattering about what it meant. As she held the test, I noticed a few faint, pale scars on the back of her hand. When we first started dating, I was a broke, recent graduate trying to make it in New York. We lived in a cramped, drafty basement apartment in Queens with no heat. Besides a laptop I needed for work, we had no other appliances. While I studied for my pilot's license and worked on my English for the international exams, she handled all the housework, refusing to let me help. The winter water was bone-chillingly cold. She wouldn't even use the electric kettle to heat water for washing, wanting to save on the bill. She'd do the laundry by hand and wash vegetables before I got home. Her once smooth hands became chapped and raw, the skin cracking at the knuckles. It broke my heart to see it, but she would just hide her hands behind her back, smile, and kiss me. "Your hands are for flying planes, not for doing chores," she'd say. "Things are tough now, but one day our kids will live in a big, warm house with all the hot water they want." Later, as my income grew, I wanted to have a child. But Chloe always found an excuse, saying Leo still needed her. It started with her sending him money. Then she moved him to New York to live nearby, testing my boundaries every step of the way. When I didn't respond, Chloe gently shook my arm. "What's wrong, Jake? Are you so happy about being a dad that you're speechless? I know you've always wanted a child. I'll try to let Leo be more independent, okay? Don't be angry anymore. From now on, it'll be us and the baby. A happy little family." Looking at the faint scars on her hand, a relic of a time when it was just us, the doubts in my mind softened into a sigh. A paternity test could be done after 5 weeks of pregnancy. I just needed to find an excuse to get a blood sample. I'd wait for the results. Then I'd decide. I told Chloe that a friend of mine at a clinic could give her a comprehensive prenatal checkup, a convenient excuse to get the blood drawn for a rush paternity test. For the next few days, she was unusually docile, constantly fussing over me. As I was sorting through my pilot recertification materials, she brought me a fruit platter and chattered about how we should decorate the nursery. If she knew these English language documents were for my application to fly internationally again, she would have raised hell, just like she did when she pressured me to quit flying and take a stable engineering job. Sophia called to tell me that my old mentor, Captain Evans, was in the hospital. He had strongly advised against it, but I'd ignored his counsel and quit for Chloe. Now that I wanted to go back, he wasn't holding a grudge and was even pulling strings for me. Out of respect and gratitude, I had to visit him. I could pick up the paternity test results on the way. Walking down a hospital corridor, I suddenly heard Chloe's laughter. I pushed open a nearby door and saw her helping Leo out of the bathroom. Leo's face was flushed, a look of pure bliss on his face. Chloe looked flustered and shy, the tips of her ears bright red. Her hand was still damp with something. The moment our eyes met, panic flooded her face. "Jake, don't get the wrong idea. Leo's sleepwalking acted up again last night, and he hurt his hand, so he couldn't. He really had to go, so I just helped him in the bathroom. We didn't do anything." I fought back the nausea rising in my throat and gave a slight nod. "My mistake. You two carry on." Chloe's brow furrowed. "Do you have to make this so difficult for us?" She said us. She and Leo were US. I was the third party. What they were doing just moments before I walked in was one thing, but now my presence was making it difficult. So, she knew what they were doing was shady, but she was still acting indignant. Why? Probably because she was certain that my love for her was a bottomless well that would never run dry. Leo came over, a look of feigned remorse on his face. He spoke just loud enough for me to hear. "Sorry about this, man," he said, then leaned in and whispered, his voice a venomous hiss. "Your wife's hands, though, they feel amazing." Rage, white-hot and blinding, surged through me. I swung a fist at him, but before my knuckles could even connect, Chloe threw her entire weight against me, shoving me backward. The small of my back slammed into the sharp corner of a table. The pain was so intense it stole my breath, and my face went pale. "Jake, you've gone too far," Chloe shrieked. "Leo was apologizing to you, and you tried to hit him. I already explained that we did nothing. Why are you acting like a rabid dog? You apologize to Leo right now, or I'm going to the clinic and getting rid of this baby. A man like you who can't see straight doesn't deserve to be a father anyway. The people closest to you always know exactly where to stick the knife." She knew I wanted a child more than anything, yet she'd use it as a weapon to defend Leo. The baby, in her eyes, was just another tool to control me. The argument drew a crowd. People started pointing and whispering, some of them snickering. A young nurse pushed through, holding a file. "Are you Jake Miller? I was just looking for you. The results of your rush paternity test are ready." At the words paternity test, the crowd fell silent for a beat before erupting into an even louder buzz. A few guys who clearly love drama started shouting. Well, open it up, man. What are you waiting for? What's the story here? Did they both cheat on each other? So whose kid is it? I'll bet $100 it's not this Jake guy's. I saw this woman taking care of the shorter dude like he was her husband or something. Chloe's face grew paler and paler. She strode toward me and snatched the document from my hand. Jake, have you lost your mind? You're actually accusing me of carrying another man's child? You did a paternity test? You have no shame, but I do. In a fit of rage, she tore the thin stack of papers to shreds. Sophia, having heard the commotion, rushed over. She helped me up, her expression full of concern as she checked my back. Captain, are you okay? Chloe recognized Sophia as the woman from the Instagram photo, and she instantly went feral. She lunged, grabbing a handful of Sophia's hair. You're the homewrecker who seduced my husband. How dare you show your face here? Sensing the scornful, mocking stares of the crowd, Chloe's face turned crimson. Without another word, she grabbed Leo and stormed away, not even bothering to complete his discharge paperwork. Whether his sleepwalking was real or just a convenient lie, only they knew for sure. I'm so sorry, I said to Sophia. You got dragged into this because of me. Her hair was a mess, and an angry red mark was already forming on her cheek where Chloe's nails had nearly broken the skin. It's not your fault, Captain. Don't blame yourself. Anyway, the interview is just a formality. In about a week, once your international clearance is processed, you'll be free of all this mess for good. I nodded numbly, staring at the confetti of paper on the floor. There was no piecing it back together. I'd have to go back to the lab. Hopefully, they could give me a digital copy of the results. At this point, it didn't matter if the child was mine or not. I was divorcing Chloe, and honestly, I didn't care about the baby as much as I once did. Forcing a child to be born into a broken, unhappy family would only be a disservice to them. I just wanted to know the truth. When I rushed back to the lab with Sophia, we were told they were already closed for the day. The genetics lab didn't run a 24-hour shift like the ER. I'd have to wait until tomorrow. Fine. It would give me tonight to settle things with Chloe once and for all. When I placed the divorce papers on the table in front of her, I expected an explosion, especially after the humiliating scene at the hospital. But she acted as if she didn't even see them. She went into the kitchen, brought out several steaming dishes, and set them right on top of the documents. There were 4 dishes on the table: braised short ribs, spicy calamari, beef stir-fry, and pork with hot peppers. My favorite Cajun dishes. It had been so long since I'd seen our table covered in food that actually had some spice. In the beginning, Chloe could handle the heat. But after Leo moved to New York, his bland palate dictated our entire menu. Every meal had to be mild. It wasn't just when we ate out. At home, she wouldn't even let me cook with spice. She claimed it was for my health, but really, she was just practicing her mild, Southern-style cooking for Leo. Even on my birthday, after I begged her, she reluctantly agreed to make a Cajun feast. But when I got home that night, I found Leo sitting at our table eating cake, and not a single dish had a speck of cayenne in it. Now, for some reason, she had decided to make this spread, but I had no appetite. What are you waiting for? Go wash up and eat. I went all the way to the specialty market to get the best jalapenos for you. They're so flavorful. If you like it, I'll make it for you every day. When I didn't move, Chloe wiped her hands on her apron and tried to pull me toward the sink, but she couldn't budge me. Her breathing grew heavier, and she looked up at me, her voice almost a plea. Jake, please don't be like this. I took an Uber to the furthest market just to buy authentic peppers. Look, my hands are still burning and stinging. I stood in the kitchen for hours. My back is killing me. I've done all this. What more do you want from me? I picked up one of the plates, pulled out the grease-stained divorce papers from underneath, and held them out to her. I want a divorce. Tears streamed down Chloe's face. She snatched the papers and tore them to shreds with a frantic energy, just as she had done with the paternity test at the hospital, as if destroying the evidence could erase reality. A divorce? I'm pregnant, Jake. You're going to be a father. Isn't that what you've always wanted? You used to tell me that when we had a baby, you'd take her to the playground every weekend, teach her to skateboard, and we'd go to all the parent-teacher conferences together. What happened? Why all of a sudden a divorce? Are you really cruel enough to abandon me and our baby? I don't believe it. Her emotions escalated into raw, painful sobs. So, she did remember all those things I'd said. But then how, just hours ago at the hospital, could she so callously threaten to get an abortion? Maybe it was because Leo was there. Anything related to Leo seemed to short-circuit her reason. She always said Leo was pitiful because he grew up without parents. But she seemed to forget that I was raised in a single-parent household, too. When I was 6, my mother left with my older brother and never looked back. I chased their car for what felt like miles, until I fell and scraped my knees on the pavement. She never even glanced in the rearview mirror. I never understood why she chose to leave me with my volatile, angry father. After she left, his already present violent tendencies were unleashed on me without restraint. There wasn't a patch of skin on my body that didn't bear a scar. I swore then that I would study my way out of that hell. After marrying Chloe, I desperately craved a child to fill the void of my own childhood. But she always put it off. Childbirth is painful. I'm not ready yet. Let's wait. Even with a nanny, I'd want to be hands-on. Let's have a baby when I have more time. But she didn't have a job. What was she spending her time on? It was simple. While I was at work, she was playing the role of the caring sister, deceiving me, and deceiving herself as she doted on Leo. She'd told the lie for so long, she started to believe it herself. That's why she could face my accusations with such righteous indignation, claiming I was the one making things sordid. But the things they did, those are the intimacies of lovers. Just like now, the custom ringtone she'd set for Leo chirped from her phone. Chloe, I'm scared to sleep. What if I sleepwalk again and wander into the street and get hit by a car? I wish you were here with me, but I don't want to make Jake angry. Chloe frantically cut him off. He won't be. He won't be angry. I'll smooth things over when I get back. She glanced at me, hung up the phone without a word of explanation, grabbed her coat, and walked out the door. Just like every other time, she had abandoned me for Leo. But this time I felt nothing. Not a ripple of pain. No inner turmoil. No self-torture. No sleepless night spent staring at the ceiling. I opened my laptop and went back to organizing my flight certification files. I've been out of the cockpit for years, and a lot of regulations and procedures had changed. I had a mountain of new theories on retrofitting and route planning to learn. Thankfully, Sophia had already got me some internal training materials from a friendly captain, saving me countless hours of research. All I needed to do was pull a few more all-nighters to get up to speed. The new route was from New York to Dubai, which demanded excellent English proficiency. That wasn't a problem. My desk job at the manufacturing company had involved reading technical documents in English all day. I just needed to practice my spoken English. I pulled out my phone and bought a monthly gym membership. I let my fitness slide over the years, and being a pilot demanded peak physical conditioning. I needed to get back in shape fast. As I was paying, a notification popped up. A new post from Leo, with me tagged specifically. He'd done this dozens of times, all to get a rise out of me, to make me run to Chloe, hysterical, sparking another endless, pointless fight. The photo showed Chloe sitting tenderly by his bedside, reading a children's storybook aloud. Leo was toying with a strand of her hair, a smug, mocking smile aimed directly at the camera. I calmly deleted his contact from my phone, then blocked Chloe's number as well. It wasn't out of jealousy or spite. I just needed to eliminate the constant noise so I could focus. But of course, Chloe didn't see it that way. Almost a second after I blocked her, my phone rang from an unknown number. It was her. Jake, can you stop being so childish? Blocking me? Is that supposed to be mature? You talk a big game about divorce, but deep down you care so much you can't stand it. Look, as soon as I get Leo to sleep, I'll be right home to you. Now unblock us. She kept rambling, but I had no more patience to listen. I hung up and blocked the new number too. Just noise. For the first time in years, Chloe didn't come home. I didn't lie on the sofa, forcing myself to stay awake, waiting for her uncertain return. I went to my own bed and slept soundly. It was the best night's sleep I'd had in years. I never knew that letting go of a toxic relationship could feel this liberating. It was good. My new life was just beginning. The next morning, I was woken by my phone ringing. Hello, is this Mr. Jake Miller? The revised copy of your paternity test results is ready. Could you please come to the hospital to pick it up? I wanted to ask for the result right there on the phone, but they hung up before I could get a word out. With a sigh, I drove to the hospital. The thin file folder was once again placed in my hands. Whatever the result, I had to move forward. I opened it. Based on the provided DNA analysis, Jacob Miller is supported as the biological father of the fetus. I stood there for a moment, stunned. Honestly, the result was unexpected. The moment I started to doubt her, all trust had evaporated. In my mind, she had already betrayed me, emotionally and physically. This child, if she was determined to keep it, I'd give her a larger share of the assets as compensation. I walked out of the lab with the report and came face to face with Chloe, who was helping Leo down the hall. Her eyes fell on the file in my hand, and the smile on her face slowly faded, replaced by a deep sadness. This time, she didn't scream or try to tear the papers from my hand. Perhaps because she knew they hadn't gone all the way, She was confident the child was mine. But our relationship had reached a point where even this truth couldn't save it. There was no point in forcing it. I said nothing, just moved to walk past them. Chloe grabbed my arm. Jake, you've seen the results. Are you still going to be like this with me? Now you have to believe that Leo and I have always been innocent. I really do just see him as a little brother. I gently pried her fingers off my arm, unwilling to engage in another pointless argument. Our values were fundamentally different. Anything I said would be a waste of breath. If the roles were reversed, if I had a needy little sister constantly demanding my attention, would she have handled it any better? Tears streamed silently down Chloe's face. She bit her lip, as if making a monumental decision. She turned to Leo. Leo, I can't always be there to take care of you anymore. You're a grown man now, and you need to build your own life. I'm pregnant, and I need to focus on my baby. Do you understand? There have to be boundaries between us. You're not a little boy anymore. When you get a girlfriend someday, she won't be happy with me being so close to you. We're not related by blood. At our age, we need to be more careful. If you meet someone suitable, I can even help introduce you. Chloe watched Leo's expression carefully, her words chosen with extreme caution. But to my surprise, Leo just smiled, a gentle, placid expression on his face. It was the first time since I'd known him that he'd looked at me without a trace of malice. A chill ran down my spine. This was not the reaction I expected. I understand, Chloe, he said softly. I should have given you your space a long time ago, especially after you got married. I was just so lonely. I keep thinking about our old life back in the neighborhood. Back then, it was just the two of us. You'd walk me to school, help me with my homework, buy me snacks, and protect me from the other kids. Whenever they called me a stray that nobody wanted, you were always the first one to step up and hug me, telling me you'd always be there for me. Do you remember that? Leo recounted their shared history as if it were a fond memory, holding Chloe's hand as they walked. They looked, for all the world, like a devoted brother and sister. You might have forgotten your promise to me, Chloe, but I never did. I know none of this is your fault. If it weren't for this baby, you'd still be my Chloe, right? Just like before. The color drained from Chloe's face. She stared at Leo in horror, not understanding what he meant. Before she could react, he shoved her. He pushed her down the flight of stairs. Her scream echoed through the entire floor. She landed in a crumpled heap, a pool of crimson spreading beneath her. She clutched her stomach, her voice a desperate wail. The baby. My baby. Jake, save our baby. Leo descended the stairs slowly, deliberately. He knelt beside Chloe and gently smoothed the hair matted to her forehead with cold sweat. Sure, Chloe, don't be scared. It'll be over soon. Then we can be together forever, just like we used to be. Chloe shrank back in terror, staring at him as if he weren't the boy she'd raised, but a monster. Medics rushed to the scene, lifting her onto a stretcher and wheeling her toward the operating room. It wasn't until the police snapped a pair of cold, steel handcuffs onto Leo's wrist that he looked at me, his lips curling into a final, defiant sneer. Chloe will always be mine. You can't take her from me. She won't blame me. When she wakes up, she'll beg them to let me go. Jake Miller, you'll always be the loser. I stood there, a storm of complicated emotions churning inside me. I never imagined it would come to this. I never imagined Leo was capable of such madness. For years, I had watched Chloe pour everything she had into him. Even with no blood relation, her devotion was absolute. And this was how it ended. I had warned her so many times not to get too close, that Leo would lose his sense of place. But she always insisted he was just a kid who would never grow up. I wondered what was going through her mind now, lying on that operating table. Captain, you're still here. It was Sophia. I was just about to look for you. We never got to see Captain Evans with all the chaos. He's being discharged today. Want to come with me? I nodded, and we went to a shop outside the hospital to buy some flowers and gifts before heading to his room. Jake, my boy, it's been too long. Just because you quit doesn't mean we can't still be friends. Tom had not been kind. My old mentor had more wrinkles than I remembered, and his voice was raspy. After I resigned, I'd always felt like I'd let him down, that I didn't have the face to see him. I'd send gifts through friends, but I never went myself. Looking back, I regretted it deeply. I'm sorry, Captain. I haven't been thoughtful enough. From now on, I'll come by and play chess with you more often. Good. I knew I wasn't wrong about you. When you're back at the airline, I'll be there to see you off on your first flight. After Sophia and I saw Captain Evans off, a doctor was wheeling Chloe out of the operating room. She looked pale and weak, but she reached out and grabbed my hand. Don't go, Jake. I need to talk to you. Sophia gave me a subtle nod. You two should talk. I'll go get your sister-in-law something to eat. Perhaps surprised by Sophia's kindness, the flicker of hatred in Chloe's eyes faded, replaced by an overwhelming wave of remorse. I was wrong, Jake, she whispered. All these years, I couldn't let go of Leo. I ignored your feelings again and again. On that operating table, I had a lot of time to think. I thought that when I got out, I would beg you, plead with you to stay. If that didn't work, I just cling to you relentlessly. You're a soft-hearted person, and I had just lost our child. You wouldn't be cruel enough to leave me. But then I suddenly realized how disgusting I've become. From start to finish, I only ever thought of myself. If I hadn't been so selfish, things never would have gotten this far. So many times, I knew what I was doing was wrong, that it was hurting you. But I always told myself that you loved me so much, you would understand, you would tolerate it. I thought that once Leo was a little older, I would let go. I kept lying to myself, and I forgot. I forgot that love isn't infinite. It can be eroded drip by disappointment. It's all my fault. I learned that lesson far too late. If I had woken up sooner, Leo wouldn't have become what he is. I brought this on myself. Don't blame yourself. It's a blessing this child was never born. Growing up in an unhappy home would have cast a shadow over their entire life. Jake, you should go, she said, her voice breaking. I can see that Sophia is a good woman. You two will be happy together. If I hadn't held you back all these years, you might have achieved even greater things. She broke down into sobs, unable to speak anymore, just looking at me as tears streamed down her face. For a moment, I wanted to say something to comfort her. The child we lost was mine, too. But life is unpredictable. 1,000 words of consolation would have amounted to nothing more than a sigh. The divorce was processed with surprising speed. Chloe was calm throughout the entire proceeding, only her red, swollen eyes betraying her deep sorrow. She refused to take any of our assets, choosing to leave with nothing. Even when I quietly transferred a large sum of money into her bank account, she stubbornly sent it back. She never appeared in my life again. It was as if our past had been nothing but a long, feverish dream. When I woke up, it all vanished into thin air. I successfully rejoined Emirates, returning to a life spent soaring through the clouds. Sophia also transferred to the international division. Before every flight, she would thoughtfully prepare everything I needed. We would walk hand in hand toward the terminal, facing the dawn's first light, ready to welcome passengers from all over the world. After flying the same route for a while, I started to notice a familiar figure at the airport. Whenever I wheeled my suitcase out of the crew exit, I would see a thin woman in a janitor's uniform, wearing a face mask, cleaning the floors. Whenever my gaze accidentally fell on her, her eyes would dart away in a panic, and she would pull her mask up higher, as if trying to hide her entire face. Even after I'd walked far away, I could feel a burning gaze fixed on my back. Eventually, it was Sophia who pointed it out to me. That was Chloe. She asked if I wanted to go over and say hello, remarking that Chloe didn't look like she was doing well. I gently shook my head. She probably wouldn't want to see her like this. If that was the case, it was better to remain strangers. Later, Sophia and I got married. An anonymous, generous cash gift arrived for us. After that day, I never saw Chloe again. She disappeared completely into the sea of humanity, and I had started my new life,